Hello and welcome. This is the bitsvsbytes podcast, episode 18. I'm here with Troels, and I have to apologize because I don't know how to tell your last name, so maybe you can do that for me. But you're CEO and co-founder of Twill Logistics, and we're going to talk about what you do. So first, your last name.
My last name is Støvring. Danish last name.
Danish last name. So, what I'd like to start off with is, could you tell me a little bit about your background and how you started Twill Logistics?
I can do that. Yes. I'll go far back, but I'll try to do it brief.
Okay, sure.
So, from start, I have studied in university on econometrics. So basically, taking the fantastics out of economics and statistics and merging into one field of study, which is a great way of training your brain, I think. And then doing some bits of management consulting, predominantly actually within employee and customer satisfaction surveys,
cool.
which is relevant to Freden.
Yep.
Then after a couple of years there, joining Maersk, which is the large Danish, one of the biggest companies in Denmark, logistics company. And within there, spending a couple of years in Maersk tankers in Copenhagen, looking at strategy. Afterwards, I joined logistics, more the service part of it, not so much thinking about steel and assets, but more on logistics and services in Damco here in the Netherlands, based in The Hague. So I've been based in the Netherlands for almost 5 years now.
Okay, and you mentioned Damco, so that's actually where you started in the Netherlands, right?
Yes,
and
it is.
How did Twill come about in that respect?
So Damco is a logistics and service company. So basically, if you want to transport goods internationally, you would reach out to a company like Damco. They do all kinds of services, all the way from the basic, you need to transport a container from A to B, or more complicated supply chains for larger brands, where you need to basically look at the whole thing. Lots of suppliers, lots of stores, lots of warehouses. The part that the Damco at the time was not doing particularly well was the more basic, you could say, transportation needs of customers, and predominantly smaller customers. So we looked at how can we do that smarter, and we also looked at what is customers actually looking for, and not just customers of Damco, but also customers of the industry. And the way that the industry is serving customers in terms of just ask yourself, do you know how to ship a container of goods around the world? Nobody has a clue.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's so interesting because you can walk into any room in the world and you can ask, so just show of hands, how many know how to do that? And nobody will raise their hand unless they work in the industry. And that's super interesting because 90% of what is in this room has actually been on a ship. It's been on a container. So it's one of the biggest and most present industries in the world, and we don't know how to do it. That's a fantastic problem. And the customers are basically saying, we need a better solution for this.
Yeah, and they are actually asking for a solution that can do it end to end, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how does that work? Because how does it work before that? You just call up a company and say, okay, I want to have a container, or how does that work?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So you do it via email, or you do it via network, or you do it via actually phoning somebody up, Googling. But to do that, you have to know that this is actually called freight forwarding. Not a lot of people actually know that this is called freight forwarding.
Yeah.
So you have to try to Google your way and find a company, and you have to reach out via email often to see, okay, I have this need. I need to transport 5 containers out of, I don't know, Shenzhen into Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Can you please give me a quote for that? And then you get a quote and you have no idea what is included because you don't know all the abbreviations. Perhaps you get 3 different quotes from 3 different companies and they look completely different. So it's very, very difficult to be a customer in this industry here unless you really know it.
And what do you try to solve in that respect? So what do you try to solve for those clients that don't know how to do this?
So we voice it always saying that we want to absorb complexity and deliver simplicity.
Okay.
Because the industry is complicated. If you want to do transportation, global international transportation, you have to have a lot of documents you need to have right. You need to know the rules and regulations within transportation, but also within the countries that you're trading with. So we try to take that complexity and just make it readily available for our customers, so they can log into a platform and they can click a few buttons and then they're up and running.
Okay.
Which is not something that the industry have ever done before. They're trying to do it. So not just Twill, there's other companies now as well seeing that customers are really looking for this. So the industry is moving more towards a customer focus and much more digital solutions.
So when I sign up as a client and I want to say, okay, my goods are in, or my company that creates it, my factory or whatever, is in China, for example, and I want to ship it to my store actually in Rotterdam, for example.
Yeah.
You do that whole process, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of how does that work? So do you reach out to all kind of shipping departments, or how does it work?
Yeah, so basically that's one of the benefits of being part of Maersk. So we are a startup that have carved out of Maersk, and we have our own team, our own dress code, our own office, our own structure and culture.
Yeah.
But the way we really can win in this industry is not just by looking at technology and looking at how do we actually create this fantastic user experience. That is something we have to do. But you're not going to be happy if you have a fantastic, nice website. You can go into an application, you can go into and say I want to ship from there to there, if the company doesn't know how to actually do it. So what we do is we leverage the systems and the network of both Damco and Maersk to exactly do what you say. So if you go in and say you want to go from Shenzhen into Rotterdam, from door to door, from your producer in Shenzhen to your storefront here in Rotterdam, then you just click that in our platform. We'll give you the information. This is when we're going to arrive, and this is the cost for it, and this is the details.
Oh, cool.
And then we'll take care of it in the back end. So make sure that we actually reach out to, for example, a trucker in Shenzhen who needs to truck it from the factory into the port.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you have a lot of kind of small, well, not small, but there are a lot of kind of checkpoints within that kind of journey, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So is that kind of a limit that someone needs to operate at, that they want to? Do they really need to do a container full, or how does that work? So
well, actually today in the industry, no, you don't have to. So we have two terms, and you're gonna love that. Is that what we call FCL and LCL? You don't need to know that as a customer, but that's just something how we work. So we currently on the platform, we are an agile platform, so we launched early and keep developing it. So today we do full container loads only. But in actually early 2019, we're going to look at also having
partial.
Yes, and that's what they call LCL, so less than a container load. Fantastic term.
Yeah.
And that's very relevant because we are attracting more and more smaller customers who don't have the need for actually filling a container.
Yeah.
So how it will work is we have 3 people who all want to ship a third of a container. And then we'll say, that's fantastic. We're going to put it into one container. And you're all going to just get the bill for a third of it. And we're going to lump it together and we're going to ship. But you still can't ship a half a container.
Yeah.
So that's how we work.
Yeah, and I'm wondering about that. Is that then you would have to also check where it is, right? So it has to be somewhere in the same place, because you're not driving from one end in China to the other to get the container full, right?
Yeah, it's complicated to actually make that happen. Yeah.
How does that work right now? Because it seems really complex to me. But how does it work right now without a system like yours?
So the industry in general is one of the biggest industries in the world and one of the most manual.
Crazy. Yeah, I read about it just a little bit before we started recording, and it said somewhere that kind of 80% of all the shipping done shipping in general is done by sea and by boat, right?
Well, boat is the most economical way of shipping, and it's actually also so even though if you're looking at a vessel that actually goes through a port, you would say that exhausts a lot of CO2. But if you're looking at how much cargo they can actually carry, it's actually also the best way of carrying cargo around the world. Yeah,
it's slow, but
it's slow. It takes 30 days often to go from China into Rotterdam, if you're talking in that analogy. But I think so right now it's based on people. And we in Twill, we're not saying we're coming in with a magic wand and saying tomorrow it's all technology based, because we need to work with a lot of companies. And what we're trying to do in Twill is automated more towards the customer. So our first focus is to say, okay, we got a lot of small and medium-sized companies in the world, and they're not prioritized in international logistics. They're just not. It's much more interesting for bigger companies to have big contracts with bigger companies, because that's when they can make money, because they can start standardize, they can put in these processes, and they know when a lot of volume is coming, they can get good deals with the truckers and with the ocean carriers. So therefore, when a small guy comes in and say, I have 5 containers, they're going to get a shitty deal. And they're also going to get a shitty customer experience. So what we're trying to say is, okay, the first focus we have is making sure that small and medium-sized enterprises actually have a place to go, where they can get an easy experience, where they don't have to be experts in the industry, they don't have to know all the acronyms of the industry, they don't know all the details. They should just have a one-stop shop where they can click a button, they can get a price, and we'll get it done. But in the beginning, what we're doing right now is we're leveraging an extremely heavy manual back end in the industry. Yeah. Because we need to reach out to the trucker in Shenzhen. And the bet is that the best way to reach out to that trucker right now is via an email or a phone call. So that's what we will do. One step at a time, right? To figure out, okay, how do we then get that trucker also into a better setup so we can actually reach out to him or her in a more automated manner. But for the first round is the customer experience. Yeah, so that's the kind of first version, or you've talked about it. I saw somewhere on your website as well that you kind of are an agile company, so you want to focus on doing the minimal viable product first, right? Yeah, I love that term. Yeah, I had Albert Heijn, one of the previous podcasts, and they actually talked about a minimal lovable product, which was actually even to me it was even cooler of a term. That's good. It's a good term. Man. I think we're keeping that in there. But how did that process go? Because I can imagine that a big company like Maersk has a lot of IT and a lot of things all over the place. This is kind of a new venture, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. So the key thing is, if you want to do something new, then it's insanity to try to use existing and old processes to do that. Yeah. That's a re-quote of Einstein. It's true. Yes. Yeah. So and Maersk knows that. So there's if we need to have a digital solution for smaller customers that the customers really love, and love is also something you can make a business plan around, because if they don't love it, they're not going to use it. I'm sorry, that's just super easy. Yeah. So it makes sense for Maersk to say, all right, guys, if you need to make this work, carve it out, go think new, have an agile structure. So actually how we built Twill in the beginning was we spent 6 weeks just validating the idea, thinking about, okay, we know that we want to make it easier for the customer, but what exactly do we need to make easier? Yeah. So we spent 6 weeks just traveling the world and talking to customers of the industry, really in-depth interviews, trying to understand their processes, what they dislike, what they like. And now, after 6 weeks, that's when we got the first software developers in. We didn't even have software developers at that point. We didn't have a CTO. And then we started, and we said, if you want to stay true agile and build a minimal viable product, to actually test, okay, can we, with software, try to solve the problems here? We said, we're going to give ourselves 20 weeks. Cool. Yeah. Just with a small team, 20 weeks, and we're going to complete in this startup mode where you just work night and day for 20 weeks. And we say that's when we're going to launch our product. That's when we're going to have first customer on the platform. Yeah, it's 4 months, right? Yeah, and we did that. 20 weeks to build something that ships the global trade, and also with all respect, within a big company that's not used to those kind of timelines. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And we're super happy to see. But as you say, it was a minimal viable product, so it only fit a few customers. Yeah. But it's enough to get started. It was enough to get customers on the platform. It was enough to say, okay, what do you then want next? And also it shows that the idea works. Right? Yes, exactly. And that's also what we needed to do. So both from we need to show the customers that this is actually something that is interesting. This new development of handling this kind of processes in a new digital environment is something that could work. But we also had to show it to Maersk. Maersk is our investor. And to show this is the future. This is where we need to go. So it was a high stake game. It was super fun. Yeah, and I'm what I was wondering about is that currently I can imagine that Maersk has the kind of bigger global companies that do a lot of shipping for, I don't know, for clothes or whatever and stuff like that. Is it also that they maybe felt that they were missing out on the smaller enterprises, so on the small and medium enterprises, for example? Yeah, I think Maersk was very self-reflecting and saying, yes, we have a great solution for the big guys because we know how to work with them, but we have been trying for years to really to deliver this, let's use it again, lovable product for smaller companies. Yeah, but we're struggling doing both with the same setup. So that's one of the premises. Maersk is actually pretty entrepreneurial in terms of saying, let's test different things out. And Twill was a test, right? Is this something that works? Could Twill be our bridge to actually to create something that smaller companies will like? And also, from a more altruistic point of view, can we actually make a difference for the small guys? Can we make a better market for them? Can we remove the barrier of international trade so they can compete with the Nikes of the world on just by allowing them to participate in global trade?
Yeah, and when we look at the product, so what are some kind of the innovations that you guys have that maybe other competitors don't have in the current field? I know from your story that the field is still pretty young in that respect. But what do you think the real edge is? Is that the kind of cooperation with a bigger company, or do you think it's also in some kind of technical things that you do?
So I think it's both, and I think actually the third to it is culture and way of working.
Okay.
And actually, let me start with culture and the way of working first.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Because in large corporations, there's often a hierarchical structure. There's projects and timelines, and yearly budgets and yearly targets. When you take that and you drop an agile mindset on top of that, there's this completely new way of working. Not saying that the other one is not working.
It does work
in general. Yeah. But I'm saying that the different problems and different solutions need different approaches. And if you wanna create something for actually startups as well, right? If you want to create a solution for them, and you haven't been able to do before, then you have to have a new approach. And the agile way of working, I'm completely in love with. I think this really gives us edge. This gives us every Friday when we close our computers and go home, we've done something new. We create something. We always we collect all our thoughts into one document every Friday, and it's so refreshing to see all the stuff that has been done during the week, and also stuff we didn't expect when it started the week. So, and also then taking the customer in the center and the heart of everything you do. So just involve them all the time, and also involve them with solutions and thoughts you, in a corporate environment, probably wouldn't share with the customer because it's not done. You don't have so you're actually co-creating with the customer. That's
how do you do that?
So in the beginning, we interviewed, we talked, visited a lot. Now we visit less, and now it's more. So now we have key customers we work with that we get input from. So we send them surveys, we have phone calls. We also, as anyone else, use analytics to see the behavior on the platform, to see if they're behaving as we expected, seeing if they're struggling. But that's more on the simple side. But we are actually now ramping up in terms of how do we get even more customers involved in a day-to-day environment, having them visit the office to co-create with us. That's our next step.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is that I've tried it myself as well with a lot of customers that we have, and although in some cases they do give good feedback and also give you good ideas to work with, but what I've seen also is that most of the time they cannot actually tell us what they want to have, right?
No.
How do you work around that?
So first of all, you don't come with and ask them what they want.
Yeah.
Because that's not gonna work. Then you go back to Henry Ford quote in terms of then you would regard faster horses instead of a car.
Yeah.
So you try to derive the needs. So in this specific example, the need would be to go faster, to have a more reliable solution, and then the horse was just not going to do it anymore. So asking customers is not asking for solutions; it's asking for their needs, and perhaps not even asking for them, perhaps just observing them as well. Because maybe they don't know how to articulate it. They don't even see it themselves. Yeah. So it's observing and seeing what is the need.
They maybe even mention it in some of the interviews that you do, but they don't bring it up as a problem.
No,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the simplest way of getting to need is ask why.
Yeah.
So why do you want that? So customer asks us for we need a reporting functionality. Okay, why? Why do you need that? Okay, it's because we need to share our information with the finance department. Okay, why do you do that? Well, it's because they needed to make reports at the end of the month where they collide information. okay, then we have to. Then it's our product team that has to take that information back and okay, that's actually the need. They're asking for a report, but that's just because they're used to a report.
Mm.
What can we develop that could be smarter, that could actually serve the need in a better way? And that's then our product team that needs to drive that innovation.
Yeah, that I think that works. I mean, in most startups, they are trying to do this this way. But going back to the innovation part, so what do you as we said, it's kind of threefold.
Yeah, so it's a culture, as we already covered.
Yeah, and you have the cooperation with Maersk, of course.
Mm-hmm.
What does that help in terms of innovation?
So I wouldn't say it helps us in terms of innovation, but it helps us in terms of having an extremely solid business model.
Yeah.
As I said earlier in this podcast here, is that it's not enough just having a fantastic user experience and have automated processes. You need to actually make sure the container or the cargo moves, and it moves. It clears all the customs. It's legally accepted. It has all the documentation to it. It's actually put on the right ship. That is critical. And there we have probably the world's strongest backbone.
Yeah,
we have Maersk. That gives us a extremely competitive advantage in the market and enables us to give a really stronger product to the customer. So I think the innovation is in that structure is about figuring out how do you leverage that to give the customer the best possible solution. And then from technology point of view, this if you're not in this industry, this sounds kind of basic.
Yeah.
But our industry is old. Our industry is legacy based. Our industry is manual. So some of the things that we are doing is allowing an instant quote, for example. So allowing you, when you need to go from, I don't know, mainland China or Thailand or whatever, into, let's say you want to go into Denmark, you want to go into Chicago.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting for you to get information. Go onto the Twill website, and you can get in there and you can get an instant quote. Because we have a lot of vendors in the back end, so we're taking all that information and colliding it into a bigger database and trying to structure it. Okay, what is then important for you? And we're putting it all together and trying to give you a good quote where we collect maybe it's 5, 6, 7 vendors we need to actually get into the picture.
And combine.
To make that service for you. That's pretty innovative to be able to do instant quotation in this industry here.
Yeah, in this industry.
That's what I'm saying, right? You're used to that from a lot of other industries.
Yeah, because if I want to, I don't know, if I want to ship just a package from A to B at the moment, this is a small package, of course. I go to the post office,
you get a price. You get a price, exactly.
Yeah.
But we're just not there. But first of all, you go to the post office. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you should be able to do it from home, right?
Yeah, of course. There's a thing that's missing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but this industry is ripe for digitalization. There's so many processes that we have accepted for way too long in the industry that now needs to change. One thing is the customer experience, which I think is pivotal, because when you can actually show the industry that customers are signing up to this new way of working, it's much easier to actually articulate why you need to change stuff in the back end. To really innovate and really disrupt this industry here, you need to go all the way through. You need to go. Perhaps it's an overused example, but what Uber, why they actually were successful in my world? Look at what they've done. They have this industry, taxiing, existed actually for centuries. Just that it haven't been a car always. It's been something else.
Yeah.
They haven't changed it. They've done absolutely nothing to the physical service. Absolutely nothing. It's still a car. It's not even flying or autonomous. You're still stuck in traffic. You still have uncomfortable conversations with the driver.
Yeah.
They haven't changed it, but they changed the way that demand, you as a customer, and supply, the driver, interact with the physical service. And just by doing that, they changed the whole industry. So that's what we're kind of inspired by, that way of thinking. So because we're not going to change shipping. We're not going to.
You don't need to.
No. And the containers, in 10 years, I'm probably going to be a smarter container. Right now, it's pretty dumb. It's just a steel box.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a smarter container, but it still has to. It won't beam around the world, right? You still have to put it on a ship and sail it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's something that now popped into my head, is that that's also a problem, I think, with containers at the moment, is that they're not smart, right?
No, they're very dumb.
Yeah, you don't have a sense of where they are at any given time.
Yeah.
I can imagine that even containers get lost just because I don't know if that happens, but
It does actually.
Yeah,
containers do get lost.
Yeah, I can imagine that happens. Just random container somewhere and nobody knows where it came from, where it's going, or whatever.
Yeah.
So what do you see that is going to? It has to change. I think it has to change. But where do you see that going?
So if you're looking at the different types of containers right now, the smartest container out there in use, and actually also in scale use, is refrigerated containers.
Okay.
Because there you need a lot of information. Because if you're transporting perishables, then you need to know, was the temperature steady or the transportation, because people can actually get sick from eating the food. So refrigerated containers, they're also powered. So they're plugged in and powered.
Yep.
They're really smart. And you can monitor them all the way through. You can see if they're opened. You can see if temperature drops. You can see where they are in the world. You can see everything about it. But the thing is, it's because they're powered, and they're more expensive, of course. So you need to take some of that thinking and put onto the dumb container. A lot of companies are actually doing it right now, and it's just about battery time and cost. That's the two key things, because there's a lot of containers around the world. You need to retrofit all of them.
Yep.
And how they want to do that is either throw a token in the container, a physical token, or you can attach something to the container.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But then you need a network for also those tokens if you want to take them out, send them back. And if you attach them to the container, you need to make sure that it's economically viable.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't pay $1,000 for it. It doesn't make sense.
Yep.
You need to make sure it doesn't run out of battery in a year from now. You need to make sure that when they're stacked on top of each other in port, that you still have signal from the one that is on the button.
And it's hard because it's all metal and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but how they're doing it was actually pretty smart. Is they're now so the container in the middle of the stack will then communicate to the next container.
So it's kind of a chain.
Yeah, so they're trying to develop a chain. So there's a lot of cool companies within this.
Yeah, because that's what springs to mind is kind of the whole the Internet of Things thing, right?
Yeah.
That springs to mind because that's pretty much what it's for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For these kind of applications to do these kind of things, to send small bits of information, because you don't need a lot of information on that to whatever, but to get it more centralized. I think that's an interesting point there, because what I also saw is that you guys have kind of all kinds of locations all over the world, right? So you have I saw some UK, US, China, kind of the bigger shipping countries, I think. How do you really have people in those locations that work for Twill, or
Yes.
how does that work?
Yeah, we do. So basically, we have Twillers, which we call ourselves in more than, I think, we're 21 countries by now.
Okay.
And some countries are we of course more present than others.
Of course.
But when we say is we go live in a country, we use the Maersk and Damco backbone to allow us to go live in a country.
Mm-hmm.
That makes us quicker. So actually, we launch a new country every 2-3 weeks by now.
Okay.
That means that we go to the country, we train people in our processes, because we also want to make sure, again, it's not just about a digital platform. It's also about, so when there is a port strike or when there's bad weather, who then takes care of it? When the truck in Thailand has a flat tire, who takes care of that? Who makes sure that we can deliver the customer experience that we promise on the platform? By actually ensuring that we do it in the back end.
You still need people for that.
Yes, and we need good people, we need trained people, and we need people who understand the Twill processes. So in Maersk, there's 80,000 people, first of all. And there's also a lot of extremely talented people. So what we do is we go to Indonesia and we ask Maersk Damco. So we have these new jobs to be a Twiller to make sure we service our customers the right way. And then we just ask who wants to go. And actually we're getting quite good traction on that. We're also hiring externally. But
people that are not in the company.
Yeah, exactly. But there's good talent. And then we take that person and we take that person into Twill. So at least in every country we at least have 2 people. And most countries more. We're more than 100 people in Twill now.
Okay, and that's interesting to me, because then essentially you're already a remote company, right? Because you have all kinds of things in place. So how do you work across those kind of time zone things that you have right now?
So time zones is always difficult. And it became more difficult when we added the US because with just Europe and Asia, well, you have a couple of good hours in the morning where you overlap. Slack is basically our savior.
So chat up.
It works like a charm because everybody got it on their phone. So you don't have to necessarily only have communication within business hours. But Slack is very important. On top of that, we have these from Lean. You have these huddle structures, huddle cascades. So we have huddles in the morning where Asia joins in, and then we have huddles in the afternoon where the US joins in, and we cascade the information from huddle to huddle, and you keep it going like this ecosystem of information.
So you have multiple times of the day that you actually have contact with your kind of other locations that you have all over the world, right?
Exactly.
So are in those locations, do you also have people that work on the product itself, or is the product team mainly focused in the Netherlands?
The product team is split over 2 locations right now, but it's very close to each other. It's Gdansk in Poland.
Okay.
And it's in The Hague. And I think we have 40% of our developers in Gdansk and the rest in The Hague. And we actually also travel a lot. So perhaps we shouldn't, but it just works. So we have our development teams co-locating at least 4 times during the year.
Okay.
To make sure we are more efficient in the way we work.
Yeah, and what kind of period are you talking about when they do that? So is that for a week or
a week or 2, something like that? And then they also have daily huddles. So we walk into our pantry, when we walk into Twill, then it's often we have the big screen and you have people in video all the time, having their daily stand-ups and having their refinement meetings to assess how to build all the stuff that we want them to build.
That's crazy, yeah, because we do that as well. I mean, we do have some developers that are not on location, and I go like every half a year. And it makes sense to us because we plan kind of the things that we want to build for the next half year, and that works. But I'm curious how that would work out if you do it more frequently than we're doing it right now. You have to do it anyway. That's for sure, because just video conferencing doesn't work, right? I mean, I think you've noticed that maybe as well. Is that if you just do the video conferencing, you don't have the kind of connection that you want to have, even though they are working for you, right? It's part of the company. It's not some kind of entity that's floating around, right? What's the reasoning behind the kind of 4 times a year?
Well, it's actually a structure that the tech and the product team set up themselves.
Okay.
It's not defined by me. I don't know how often they need to work together. Yeah. But also, so the interesting thing is it's not a leadership thing. So it's not the CTO from Twill who travels to Gdansk and tells this team what to do.
Yeah.
We work in Scrum teams. We have 3 teams, and those teams are split. So you don't have. It's not like one team is based in Gdansk and one is. They're merged. So you often have teams that are 3 people in Gdansk and 3 people in The Hague.
How big are those teams?
I think they're between 6 and 8 people, 5 and 8 people, something like that.
Kind of the max that you can go for.
Yes, so we're establishing a new one here in January. So we have a 4th, and we want to go. We're accelerating quite a bit on that. So we're getting more teams in. But the key thing is it's not location based. So therefore, it's not the CTO traveling, it's actually the teams.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's the key thing here, because as you say, it's also social interaction, it's knowing each other, it's everything, right?
Yeah, you work on with each other on a daily basis. You just don't have the thing that you have that is everything is in one office, right?
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't really matter that they are not there. In most cases, you can just do everything over video conferencing anyway, but in some cases it's just handy because you can just draw something on a board, right? Yeah. And say, okay, this is what I'm thinking about, and stuff like that. And what I was wondering as well is that does every team like work on a separate part of the application, or is just they're all working at one thing and they maybe pick or choose what they're working on?
More the latter. Yeah. So the 3 teams. So actually, we've been discussing this quite extensively. It's a little bit religion. Which one works the best? Because you can say you're developing expertise and focus if you're saying that you work on one piece of the application. Yeah. But the thing is also, if you need all your manpower behind a single piece for 2 months, for example, then you only have 20% of your people actually knowing how to do so. And by saying that we have 3 teams and they're set to 3 different areas, then you by definition prioritizing those 3 equally. Somewhat, you have some flexibility. We're not sure that's the right way of working.
You're still figuring out. I mean, you started in 2016, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, but the way we started, so we went to, we worked very much as a secret project within Maersk. We went.
That's weird.
But it was very. We basically just disappeared.
It's not that hard to be secret in such a large corporation.
No, it's not.
Right?
No, it's not. Definitely. But basically, I was the first employee, right? Of we didn't have a name for it. We didn't have anything. I was thinking about how to do it, and I collected a small team, only 3 people and me, and we went to Berlin and spent 7 months with an incubator there, partnering up on how to actually build it. And then when we came back, so that was in March 2017, all the developers we have in the team right now, they were not with us. Because a lot of them were freelancers or people that came in on a consultancy basis. And then we had to kind of reinvent ourselves to figure out what kind of DNA pool do we want, what kind of talents do we want, and then have to start hiring out of The Hague, but also out of Gdansk. So the developers we have in the team, a lot of them joined after that. So we're even younger, you would say, in terms of ways of working. We're still figuring out.
Yeah, and going back to that location part, because that's something that popped into my head as well, is that how do you kind of pick which countries you go to and create an office? So is that based on what the user base is there, or is it more strategically because of the shipping and where everything is going?
So basically you have 3 decision parameters. One is market research. So it's not that difficult because it's a big industry to figure out where is cargo actually shipped from, and 2, what kind of customers are doing it. So that's just looking at market research. Second is often closely correlated. Look, where does Maersk have volume? Because a lot of Maersk customers are interested in joining Twill. And thirdly is network, which is very interesting. So if you have 20 countries and you have a network of, say, that summarized to, let's call it an absolute number of 200, then the 21st country you want to add to it, which one maximizes that network? So you need to pick a country that each of these countries, the 20 countries, trade with. That may not be the next biggest trading company, trading country, but it's just which country will add to the network the most.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I get it. Because you want to you want to get rid of some of the checkpoints, right? I think it maybe is easier to ship through a different country than what you're doing right now. Is that also a thing, or?
No, we say so. If you have, let's say you have 3 countries on the platform. You have China, you have UK, and you have Spain. Then how to pick the 4th country is looking. Does the 4th country have existing trade with China, UK, and Spain? Because it may be that we want to pick Mexico as the 4th country, which is a big trading country. But if they don't have a lot of business with China, UK, and Spain, then from a Twill perspective,
doesn't make sense.
It's less relevant, because then we have another setup. So that's kind of how we see the network. We have to make sure that the countries we add are relevant to the existing countries.
Okay. Yeah, I was about the because we touched on the subject a little bit, and I want to go into that a little bit deeper. So, how do you see technology changing things like logistics in the future? So we've talked about this thing, actually tracking and knowing where your shipment is, but what are some of the other things that you see that are still not in the Stone Ages, but they're still it's still in a not so digital manner, let's put it like that.
It was basically everything in this industry is not digital yet, but there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of grassroots movements and also bigger movements to really digitalize this industry. So you will see a lot happening. I think the headline is it will become much, much easier to become a customer in this industry, and that's the great thing. There's no one company who's trying to solve the whole problem.
You can't.
No, exactly. Which is also the good way to do it. So you have companies specializing in different parts of the problem to make it more easy for a customer to interact within one here. I think that there's a couple of things. There's a couple of companies doing it. There's one actually within Maersk, a joint venture between Maersk and IBM, which is trying to create a new infrastructure So how do we work together based on blockchain technology?
Okay.
How do we verify the documents that we actually have to use in shipping? Because a lot of let's say custom rules, you have to have a physical document you need to stamp, because that's the only way that document is actually validated. How do you start taking that validation process, which is one of the biggest things in an industry in terms of documentation flows? How do you try to put that in a trusted network?
Yeah,
and they're trying to build a very extensive blockchain solution that will have a lot of partners on a platform, and they're doing quite well. There's a company called Tradelens. So I see a little bit like Amadeus within passenger flights. I see more of these aggregated platforms in the back end to really figure out how to standardize the processes using new technology such as blockchain.
Yeah,
I also see there's a huge business case for AI in this industry.
Okay.
Both in terms of actually processing, so in terms of automation, taking some of the more rudimentary human steps out of it, because we make mistakes, we're humans. We should spend our brains doing more creative work, actually figuring out what to do when a support strike or something like that. But also AI in terms of prediction. So the industry is becoming more and more volatile, because you have these days coming up, Black Friday, Singles Day. It makes so many smaller bleeps, peaks on the logistics. So imagine you don't have to trade anything, and all of a sudden on Singles Day you have to trade everything.
Yeah,
that's difficult to actually do that in physical. You have to have a ship, you have to have a plane.
It's like with a website, for example. So say you have a website and some article or something goes viral, and then you get like a lot of traffic that you cannot handle, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the same, right?
But here you have physical constraints in terms of a ship, actually.
That's even worse.
Yes. Yeah. So there's a huge business case for smoothing some of these peaks and trying to predict. So if you can add more prediction power into the industry, you can move actually mountains.
Yeah. Because I can imagine that somewhere down the line you have to have some kind of standardization, right?
Yes.
Because if every shipping company in the world would use a different system, then it would be you couldn't do it, right?
But that's basically how we do it today.
Because you have all these kind of systems that maybe even do not work together.
Definitely not.
Yeah. Trying to work together, but it really isn't made for that, right? So what do you see there? So do you see kind of a platform coming up that would do kind of all the shipping, and do you think that will be one kind of standard, or will it remain like this?
I think there will become a few standards. But I think so. What Maersk and IBM is doing could become one of those standards, but there are other companies doing similar stuff. But yes, there's a high need of doing so, and I think technology has advanced that much that now it's actually feasible to do so. It's been very, very difficult to do so in the past.
Yeah.
But it's simple technology, like you could say blockchain has limitations in terms of number of interactions. I think that's the biggest limitation to it.
Yeah,
but it will also keep developing. Technology is ahead of the industry, and now technology is at a place where you actually can develop these standardized platforms that can kind of dictate how we interact with each other, instead of having it this segregated as we are today.
Yeah, because you don't have previously you didn't have the computing power to do this, right?
Oh, definitely not.
And now it's become more and more apparent that you can do it, and you could build this kind of platform that could be used all over the world, right?
Well, it's with user uptick. So one thing is you have that platform. Another thing is actually convince very, very, very different companies, very different governments even, because a lot of them is also just based on local legislation.
Yeah.
To become a part of this network here. One of the most basic things in shipping, it's actually something everybody has agreed on now, is something called Incoterms. That the terms of trade. So it's rules.
Okay.
So if we trade, then we use that framework on how to trade.
And everybody uses that.
Everybody uses that. So that's a fantastic, developed many years ago, but it gives a great foundation for how to work. So if you can do that in terms of that international legal part, it was needed. We can also do it from a technology point of view. And it's coming. It's definitely coming. And cool. I also see the smart containers are definitely come as well. Definitely. It's going to be...
Yeah, I mean, you need to do it because... it cannot be that you have kind of a shipping tracker or however you want to call it. So a shipment that you know where your shipments are, and that you still need people to actually find out where those things are.
No, exactly. I agree.
That's the thing.
But the thing is, it's not enough just to know where it is. Because if I know that my container is at the port of Singapore, I still don't know has it been custom cleared. So I don't know if it's ready to take the next step. Yeah. And if it hasn't been custom cleared, it's gonna stay in that port, and that's gonna be a problem. And that's
you somehow need to update that status, right?
Yes, I need to know more information about it, even though the container is not moving.
Yeah, so for example, a container is there and it goes through a scanner or whatever, but it just makes it clear that the status is okay, it's cleared now.
Yeah, now it can move to the next step, and I'm happy because I know then it can go on the vessel, and then I can receive my goods as I want to.
Yeah, because as we said, then the standardization comes in, because you cannot do that if you have like 4 or 5 different systems in place, right?
No, it's not even 4 or 5. It's hundreds.
Yeah,
thousands.
Yeah, because every kind of country has their own thing, and they do their own thing, and that's crazy. So I would like to wrap up, but I have one more question for you, and it's always the question I ask at the end.
All right.
What are you most proud of?
So multiple things. So I have to prioritize here in the question. So I'm proud.
You can mention everything.
We started with a couple of people with an idea about can this actually be done, and it was just an idea. We didn't even know exactly what is the idea. It's just we think we can do this better. And today we are a pivotal part of the overall Maersk strategy in terms of a whole customer segment. So a really big part of Maersk. So just internally, we really created something where we have a whole new identity. Even we actually created something with really potential to be part of Maersk in the future. Perhaps even be part of defining Maersk in the future. Yeah, that is pretty crazy, but that's very internally based. From a customer perspective, of course, there's nothing better than seeing a customer being happy with it. There's nothing better than getting a 10 in an NPS score. You go home, you're happy.
How do you research that?
So different. Right now, we ask when the shipment is done. We have simple pop-ups and asking them for information about it. Okay. So that's of course something we're proud of. I'm also proud that we delivered this within 20 weeks. The minimal lovable product, as that was called.
We're keeping it in there.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's cool. I think I'll take it into my vocabulary as well. And then I'm proud of. We had an agreement say we need to show that we can get 100 customers on the platform within a certain time frame. And we got 100 customers on it. In a B2B, in a B2C world, that doesn't sound a lot. In a B2B world, it actually is.
It's pretty a lot, yeah.
So when we got customer number 100, we had a huge 100 party, and this kind of also saying, okay, now we reached the first milestone. This is actually something we can do. And everybody was psyched about it. Everybody's psyched about the purpose. Actually taking a hassle out of logistics for small players, give them leveling the playing fields for the small guys is also super cool. And then I think from a more personal point of view, so right now we are 130 people in Twill. So one of the best things is walking through the office and seeing people just excelling and solving some of the problems, innovating, delivering new stuff that I was part of in the beginning. Now I'm not part of that anymore, which is how it should be. But it's a cool feeling to go through the office and see what they're working on and see how they're handling this and see that they can do it better than what I was doing in the beginning, because you were scrambling, right?
Yeah.
So now you actually have really good people that really know their shit and really knows how to do this every day coming into Twill, and with a joint purpose of actually making life a little bit simpler for the customer. And you can really see it. You can feel it that they're burning for this purpose. That is, I think, the highest level of proud I can get to.
Cool. I think that's a good way to end it.
All right.
How can people find you?
Twill.net. If you go into Twill.net, you can sign up as a user, and you can try it out if you want to. You can also, if you make a booking, you're still not. You can actually make a booking, and if you don't want to do it at the end of the day, it's all right. We just say no. So you just go into Twill.net and sign up, or contact us via the information on Twill.net.
Yeah, and Twill is TWILL, right?
Yeah, it is. It's like the fabric.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
For the listeners, of course, you can find the Bits vs. Bytes podcast on bitsvsbytes.com. We're also on all major podcasting platforms, so iTunes, we're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all over the place. And also follow us on social media. It's all Bits vs. Bytes on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And I would like to thank you for listening, and until next time.